When I talk about a mental prison, I'm talking about the rules that we make for ourselves that lock us up, and they involve self-limiting beliefs, and they block us from achieving what we want. It ends up that we end up self-sabotaging and living with these rules that we make for ourselves that we don't even realize sometimes that we've kind of placed on ourselves, and they really are limiting. So we all live according to something called rules for living, and they often take the form of if this then that. And I'll give you some examples. You may say to yourself, if someone rejects me, then that means that I'm inferior. Or if I can't fix somebody else's problems, then that means I'm a failure. Or it could be, if I can't get somebody to like me, then that means that I'm unlikable. We all have if this then that type rules, and the problem is that there are often errors in thinking. They're not based on fact, they're based on our past experiences, insecurities, etc. So one way that I get out of my head the noisiness up there, I imagine it like busy highways, and there's just bumper to bumper thoughts, and it's just noise and traffic, and it's just exhausting. And I get out of my head and I think, what can I see around me? And you may find that there's a pair of glasses in my case, a kettle, there's a salt grinder, pepper grinder, things like that. If you put 100 people in a room and you said to them, what is this? And you put a salt grinder in front of them, most people would say that's a salt grinder, 99%, right? And so this is the way that you can clarify between what's up for negotiation, which is all the thoughts in your head, like if I'm too fat, then I can't do this or do that, or if I'm not young enough, then I can't do this or something else. So we put all these limits on ourselves without realizing it. So do the 100 people in a room scenario. If I use this thought and I put it to 100 people, is this going to be up for negotiation? And if it is, with something that people would probably argue about with you, rather than saying this is a chair, most people go, yeah, that's a chair. That's quite simple. But the stuff up in our heads is just a whole lot of noise and what we call errors in thinking. CBT therapists talk about this all the time. And it's things like when we catastrophize, we think the worst case scenario, where we self-criticize, where we mind read, where we think we know what other people are thinking about us. Actually, we don't, unless they tell us to our face in black and white. Black and white thinking is another error in thinking. And all of these things impinge upon how we see the world, and they distort reality. Just remember, reality is not what our brains tell us. Our brains predict future, our brains predict problems, trying to keep us safe. So ask yourself again, what are the rules for living that I have? If you catch yourself with an if this then that type rule, ask yourself, why have I decided to adhere to this rule? Where is the rule of life book that says thou shalt do A, B, and C? So you can change the rules. You don't have to be stuck in a mental prison of your own making. Remember that thoughts are not facts, and that they can be updated and they can be reframed. And I will be doing more on errors in thinking and how to reframe your thoughts, and also behavioral experiments, which are key to shifting the thoughts. So I hope this has been helpful. Remember, rules for living, if this, then that. Be more aware of what you're telling yourself. Shift those around. Go, well, that's quite limiting. Why do I want to believe that? Why would I want to believe that if I'm assertive, somebody's not going to like me? What happens then is that we avoid and we live according to these silly rules that we've put in place, which aren't actually factual or accurate anyway. So give that a go. Think about your rules for living. Write them down. Try and find ways to shift them, or be more aware when they're coming up, so that you can go, no, I'm not listening to that. That is an old rule, and I no longer adhere to that rule. And you will break out of your mental prison. And a lot of us don't even realize the rules that we've put on ourselves. So give that a go, and look out for my future videos where I will be talking about how the typical errors in thinking and what you can do about them. Speak to you soon. Bye.